Let me de-influence you and tell you not to purchase anything from Van Cleef.
This shirt cost $995.
I wonder what that resale value is going to be now.
Okay, so today we're going to be going over something that has probably been in everybody's feed recently, and that is the luxury market as a whole. From what we've seen in the past with these luxury brands' quality just taking a nosedive, while the MSRP of the exact same items have only skyrocketed. As a result, the replica market has exploded in popularity, and now you've probably seen all of the people in China talking about those same brands. So I wanted to go over some things that I've seen recently along with some comments from you guys. So if you want to be featured in a future video, leave it in the comments down below. But we're going to start off with a $6,000 gold bracelet that begins to rust after a couple months of wearing it.
Let me de-influence you and tell you not to purchase anything from Van Cleef. So I purchased this 5-motif bracelet, and within 2 months, it started rusting and tarnishing to this right here. Mind you, this is an 18-karat yellow gold. It should not be tarnishing. So they cleaned it 2 times with the ultrasonic jewelry cleaner in store, and then they shipped it off to New York City to get it professionally polished. I received it back yesterday from getting professionally polished. When I voiced my concern that I could still see the tarnish, the manager of the store had the audacity to make me feel as if I'm blind. She was gaslighting me.
So that little bracelet is apparently $6,000, and clearly the quality is not there. I know the jewelry market as a whole is completely ridiculous. Diamonds could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the quantity of them are purposely held back to increase the value and increase scarcity, which overall really wouldn't be a problem. You could say the same thing about watches. I know so many of them are handmade, and of course that brings up the value, but you see some of these watches that are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, just to be able to tell the time. The jewelry market as a whole is completely ridiculous, but still, having something that you paid thousands of dollars start deteriorating just a few months into owning it really does start to seem fishy with these types of brands. There's a lot more to the story, going back and forth, having it cleaned and tested to see if it actually is 18 karat gold. I mean, it is an entire mess of a situation. Literally just posted my video on my Van Cleef experience too. Class action. So this is not a single issue. Many people are starting to see this. Go get the metal tested, and if it's not 18 karat, sue. She did end up doing it. I believe it was 18 karat. Escalate it to corporate. The manager will change the attitude. Girl, even my duplicate, my replica, doesn't tarnish. That's a pretty good segue to the rest of this video. If I dropped 6,000 and it looks like that after 2 months, absolutely not. And we have a comment from one of you guys on my older video talking about product waste as a whole, and there was a bunch of Coach bags that were purposely destroyed and thrown in the trash by the company itself so other people wouldn't be able to use it, for the same reason, to keep the scarcity and up its value as a whole. But then apparently these amazing materials that are supposed to be imported and all made in Italy and all these fancy places is worth so little that you could just cut it all up and throw it in the trash. But we're supposed to be spending hundreds if not thousands of dollars per bag for the exact same material. The karma these luxury brands are getting this week is so amusing, and this is the kind of stuff they are referring to.
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own countries and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France. You know, those sophisticated European countries, which make you feel mysterious, royal, and thus luxury. Now, close your eyes. Let's just do a little very easy experiment in your head, okay? Imagine that you have Hermes bag and suddenly the label on it changed from made in France into made in China, while everything else like leathers, zippers, and hardware remain the same. Do you suddenly feel that your bag is not as luxury as before? If you do, that means you have been misled and poisoned by the market campaign of those luxury brands for too long. Welcome to the real world. Now you see, those bags are made in China by our intelligent and diligent Chinese artisans. Let's not be poisoned and misled by the market campaign any longer, and be a real person. Buy a bag from our factory in China, see the real world for yourself.
So this guy has brought up a few points. I think it kind of starts to go either way. We'll see a little bit later in this video, but I do agree. Seeing that it's made in France or made in Italy is a lot better than seeing it in China, and there has been literal proof, news articles, stuff that has been on TV showing that some of these luxury companies were making basically Chinese sweatshop factories in Italy, importing Chinese workers to make these luxury handbags for virtually nothing and then selling it for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So this kind of stuff is a very real thing. However, I have seen some other good points with others saying that a lot of these companies in China are just taking advantage of the situation right now and they want to make more money with their replica items. It is a whole mess right now. Like I said, we'll talk about it a little bit later in the video. Definitely not trying to come to the defense of these luxury brands right now. I mean, we have another comment from one of you guys. I met a buyer from Louis Vuitton a few years ago and asked her how much it would cost to make an LV bag. When she told me it was $12, I was floored. $12 to make a bag that sold for $1,000 to $5,000. Yet the people who have Louis Vuitton like to look down on people who don't waste their money on items that cost so little to make but are marketed as exclusive. What people don't realize is that the reality explains the entire luxury industry, and I agree with that too. I mean, we have a perfect video right here showing how unbelievably expensive it is for plain clothing that if you didn't see the brand would easily be at discount stores.
This is the type of stuff that men will do to impress women. And then when life happens and their job fall apart or they lose their business, then they just stuck with stuff like this. This shirt cost $995. Okay? And that's just the shirt. This is just a hoodie. Okay? And then you got shorts to it. Let's see how much the shorts is. Look at this. So we as people, we will blow 17, what was that, 1,800, 1,900 with tax, whatever, on an outfit to impress women. Women that don't love you will never love you, and you walking around to try to feel like a boss, but then when your business falls, or when life happens, or you get injured, now you broke. Look at this. What is this? $645 for a t-shirt. This t-shirt probably costs about $11 to make.
Honestly, I'd probably think it's less than $11, but just absolutely bottom of the barrel. I mean, no creativity, just the logo on a black t-shirt or a green hoodie. If you put the And One logo on it, it would easily just be sitting at Walmart for $10. We have another comment from one of you guys. The vast majority of luxury goods are priced for the name, not the quality. I used to be a jeweler. We once had a pair of sterling cufflinks come in for repair. They were originally from Neiman's for $9,000. They were only worth maybe $25 in materials. I could give many other examples, but that was just one of the more egregious.
You know what my favorite thing was to come out of all of the Trump tariffs? That China was like, okay, tariffs, got it. But also, all of your luxury shit, like Hermes, is made in China. And then it's shipped back so that that luxury brand can like put a tag on it. All of your shit's made in China. I'm not a luxury guy. Like, I like nice things, but I've never been one to like go out and spend thousands on something stupid, like a handbag for clout, cause I'm a boy. Anyways, different topic. I love the fact that China chose to retaliate by dishing the tea. Like everybody that thought that they were getting these luxury brands were just products of like a huge assembly line. Like, I love it! Seriously, a $300,000 handbag? Are you kidding me? We're such an image-based society here in America. I'm glad that happened. I wonder what that resale value is going to be now.
I think that's an extremely good segue to the next clip. When a lot of people will buy these handbags, they try to have the argument that if they keep it for a long time, it would become vintage and be a lot more money on the secondhand market, but that's definitely not always the case.
Next time your husband or anyone tells you, oh my God, that's so stupid that you spent all the money on your bags. It's an investment.
We've seen this narrative being thrown around on here for the past few years. While there is truth to it, there's also a lot of layers to it. And if someone were to go out and buy a luxury bag today and say, well, it's an investment, I would have to disagree. And this is where the some truth comes in with her statement, because what she was showing were bags that she purchased 10 to 20 years ago. For example, she bought her Goyard Hobo for $835 in 2006, I believe she said. And yes, 16 years later, you could sell that bag in pre-owned condition for well over what you paid for it. That was an investment. But then the fine print comes in. You're only able to sell your 16-year-old pre-owned bag at these prices because the current day retail has skyrocketed. This bag brand new today is 4 times the price it was in 2016. That is not a normal rate of inflation. So let's say you buy one today and all in with taxes, it's $3,500. In 16 years, these bags are not going to be selling on the resale market for $7,000.
So that adds on to the fact that the MSRP has been going up way faster than it should, even when we're talking about luxury items for rich people. And I mean, there could be several different reasons, because it's not just the luxury handbag market that the MSRP has gone through the roof. You've probably heard it a million different times. The poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. So it doesn't really matter if the handbag is $1,000 or $5,000. It could be $10,000. Some of these rich people have so much money that it doesn't matter. I do think it's funny when normal people are trying to act rich and spend that much just to be able to look like they're the top 1%, but the secondhand market isn't going to keep increasing in prices to this ridiculous extent too, especially in a decade from now. We could look at some of the comments. At one time, Beanie Babies were an investment, and now basically all of them are worthless, and people keep their bags in pristine condition to get better resale. But why buy it if you can't even use it? It really doesn't make sense in the end, but this comment definitely explains why so many people will still buy. Companies know how stupid many people are. If Dior priced a bag at $140, people would not want it. So they price it at $2,800, and people are like, oh my God, what a gorgeous bag. I want it so bad. Here's my credit card. I can pay it off in a year. How many times have we seen on both of my channels that exact scenario happening? I mean, here's another example of it showing how little the materials are compared to the MSRP, even with the most popular, the most expensive bag, the Birkin bag.
This Birkin bag cost you $38,000 in the boutique. But what is the real cost in factory? Today, I'm going to break it down in front of you step by step.
So he goes through everything it takes to make one of these bags. And in comparison, talking about the Dior or Louis Vuitton that has been proven to only cost around maybe $100 a bag when they sell them for thousands, like you saw $2,800 for that bag. The Birkin bag at the end of the day, from start to finish, cost about $1,400 to make, which yes, is quite a bit more compared to the other brands, but this is the most expensive, the best bag. We're talking absolute minimum 5 figures. I've seen anywhere from 15,000 upwards of 50,000. Could probably get even more with the exclusivity and the special editions and whatever they want to put out. So even though the relatively high cost to make that bag, $1,400, being priced up to around $50,000+ is still absolutely insane to me. We have a couple comments from you guys as well. There's a leather expert on here that actually takes these super expensive bags apart and tell you the actual cost of the leather and the hardware. The leather is never more than $100 or $200. There's a reply. His channel is named Tanner Leatherstein, and there's a few channels that have popped up on my recommendation. You could see that this is Tanner going through all of these bags, the Chanel bags, the Louis Vuitton, everything that you've seen before. It never ends up being worth buying, especially the MSRP compared to the cost and the quality of the materials that they're using. I know another channel, Rose Anvil, goes over many different boots and shoes in general, because you could buy designer Gucci shoes that are probably $500 plus, and at the end of the day, they have no better materials compared to a pair of $50 or $60 Vans. But even work boots could be upwards of several $100, $400 or $500, and he will actually cut them in half as well, showing you everything to see if it's worth it or not, and a lot of brands aren't. So we could get into a little bit more of the replica market. We have another comment from one of you guys. The moment I knew luxury versus counterfeit was over was when a lot of stuff you had to break out the magnifying glass in order to tell the difference between real and fake. And I do agree with that to an extent. Of course, there's various different qualities of how good or bad these replicas are. So when you see clips like this, it's not 100% truthful when stuff from DHgate is actually real all along. And DHgate, Taobao, there's a lot of different websites online where you could get replica stuff shipped to you. Now, sometimes these fake items could get exceptionally close to the authentics for a fraction of the price. I know that a lot of the replica sneaker market, when it comes to Jordans and Yeezys, have gotten very, very close to the authentics now. So you really do have to break out the magnifying glass and the blacklight to try to find any of the differences between the authentics and fakes. And even with that, the authentic pairs of Jordans, the quality of Nike shoes have just gone down the drain in general. So they'll have their own flaws, even though they're legitimately authentic. So it's really a toss-up at the end of the day. I bet the same thing can happen when it comes to any of the designer brands, but it's not really as cut and dry as that. So if you do buy stuff off of DHgate, most likely it still will be some pretty low quality replica stuff. We can look at some of the comments. As a reseller in Australia for DHgate and many other websites, these are not the same. The detail compared to the real thing is a little off, although you might get a 100% spot on item once in a while. I promise you it's not real. There's a huge difference. Not that it matters, but it definitely is not the same quality. Because I get it, most of the authentic and replica items are being made in the same factories in China. So they could end up selling what would be a authentic Louis Vuitton bag just on a replica website for a fraction of the price and still make a good profit. But like I said before, there are some arguments to be made that some of these companies in China are just taking advantage of it so they can make more money off of their replica items.
What you need to realize about these Chinese manufacturers all over your For You page is that this is a propaganda campaign. And it's not pro-Communist Party. It's not pro-China. They are trying to save their businesses. First thing they're trying to do is reframe Americans' perception of made in China. They want to make sure that Chinese-made goods are seen as quality. So they're throwing all of these luxury houses under the bus, saying that Hermes and Chanel and Gucci make all of their products in China. So that way you start equating China with those luxury brands. But companies like Lululemon, which gets called out a lot in these videos, they're definitely making a lot of their stuff in China.
So I don't think a lot of what they're saying is wrong, especially like the Lululemon clothing brands are extremely cheap to make. So it doesn't matter if you spend $100 or $150 on leggings. Most likely it just costs a couple bucks to make in the end. But still, so many people want the expensive brand, whether it comes to clothing or the designer goods, any of those types of items. And if they find out that they could get it for a fraction of the price and maybe it is authentic because even the actual Louis Vuitton is still made in China, it still promotes a massive amount of overconsumption. You're just buying it from these Chinese factories instead of the boutique store. Of course, it'd be cheaper in the end if you got 20 different Chanel bags comparing to actually going to the Chanel store and buying it there. But in the end, you're still spending a whole bunch of money that you probably don't need to spend. I don't really care at the end of the day if anybody's wearing authentic or replica items. At least in my mind, no matter what you're wearing, I think a lot of it is just to show off to other people to make it look like you have money. Because I think one of the sentiments that people are realizing online is that people who are genuinely super wealthy today in 2025, most of the time are not showing it off at all. They're wearing plain white t-shirts and maybe on clouds or Hokas or whatever, plain clothing, right? Because they don't want people to know that they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It basically just puts a target on your back now in an increasingly more agitated society. So I don't know, you could do whatever you want at the end of the day, but I could see that a lot of these Chinese factories are really trying to push to get Americans to just buy more crap from them. Again, would be cheaper at the end of the day than going to the Gucci store and buying a whole bunch of random crap, but I don't know. It's just not something that I would do. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.